Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Farbo on the product marketing team here at Miro. So imagine this. It is the dead of winter and your heating suddenly fails. The pressure is on for an engineer to fix it fast because in situations like this, speed and efficiency aren't just important, they are critical. For Centrica, the company ensuring millions of UK homes stay warm and powered, this is a daily reality. But their challenge isn't just fixing one issue, like a broken boiler. It's creating a system to deliver critical solutions to customers better and faster across the board. So today, we'll hear from Centrica and how they use Miro to overcome fragmented tools and streamline workflows, accelerating decision-making to provide essential energy solutions faster. So we are excited to have Titu Joseph Rajan, Head of Integrations at Centrica, with us today. He'll share how Miro and AWS help Centrica deliver this value to customers. So welcome, Titu. Could you start by telling us a bit about Centrica's core mission and what your team is responsible for?
Thanks, Laura. So Centrica is an energy company, and we provide energy supply as well as services to millions of homes in the UK. We are known for our brands such as British Gas Energy, based out of UK, Bulgash Energy, based out of Ireland, Dino Rod, PS Jones, and Hive. I work within the internal technology wing within Centrica, and my team and we are responsible for building and managing integration platforms as well as various shared platforms across the Centrica estate. In addition to building new platforms and more features into the existing platforms, as well as keeping the lights on, we are always focused on improving our engineering excellence, including our speed to delivery by creating reusable patterns that not only solves today's problems, but also set us up for success in our future programs.
Okay, so it sounds like your team has a huge responsibility. So what would you say was the main challenge you were facing before you started using Miro?
I think our biggest challenge within my engineering team was the fragmentation of tools across the product delivery lifecycle. We had different tools for brainstorming and ideation, which was Miro for a very long time. But we had different tools for designing and delivering our solutions, which made it really difficult to maintain an easily accessible and a unified view of our work. We build a lot on AWS, and we have several existing patterns for solving certain problems. Sometimes these patterns need extending, they need a major revamp, but they are all distributed. They're sitting in so many places, and it's not in a single place. Access being very difficult made collaboration very difficult, especially when trying to build new platforms and trying to optimize existing architectures. This slowed down our collaboration, decision making, and the delivery process. We realized that in order to deliver solutions faster, we need to be able to consolidate these tools and streamline our delivery workflow.
All right, nice. So I'd love to see how you're putting this in action. Could you walk us through a specific project where Miro is really making a significant impact?
Sure. One very exciting platform that we are building is the Decision Engine platform, abbreviated as DEP. And I'm sharing a Miro board over here, which is the DEP board. And so DEP is an internal product that essentially provides a bunch of APIs that helps customers to perform guided fixes to their appliances remotely by themselves through our existing channels. Sometimes customers need to wait for 1 or 2 days for an engineer visit to resolve issues that could otherwise be fixed by themselves immediately. So DEP is meant to help our customers self-serve and fix issues as quickly as possible. And this could be for any appliance, but we are targeting boilers this winter. With Miro, we have been able to collaborate and brainstorm ideas, outline various design options, data models, delivery roadmaps, delivery as well, all within a single unified workspace. And this not only sped up the design and delivery processes, but also ensured that everyone was aligned all step of the way. So you can see 5 frames in here. The first frame is the ideation and brainstorming frame. And we use this frame to share our goals, visions, and thoughts about the platform. the tech design options, where we have mapped multiple options to actually deliver deep. The final design artifacts, which means that we have chosen something. The delivery roadmap, and this outlines a plan for delivery across all of our sprints. And finally, the delivery frame, which tracks the delivery progress. So let me zoom in into the ideation and brainstorming frame. So one of the first things we did was set up a team, and the team consisted of representatives from the field, who knows how engineers fix these problems today, business product owners, cloud architects, and we discussed how a customer could interact with one of our existing channels to perform a guided fix. We agreed that the platform is essentially a decision tree implementation, and this platform will serve a pattern, which is a foundation for guided fixes for various appliances in the future. So not just boilers, a lot of other appliances as well. We took the example of a specific appliance and mapped the journey from the login across to the various fixes that could be provided for that particular appliance. And this included navigation from the parent node all the way to the end of the tree, which is the leaf node. And within each node, we wanted to provide guidance to the customer, some content that they could use to progress from one step to the other. And ultimately, when a customer reaches the end of the tree, we expect to have resolved the issue for the customer for majority of the cases. There could be certain cases where, this is an issue that we have never seen before, or we need a part and we need an engineer visit to actually resolve the problem. And in those cases, we will then be directing the customer to an appointment booking page. We then worked out how the database schemas would look like, and we had various iterations of the database schema, and we also built a flowchart swim lane to map the flow of data across various systems and platforms within the end-to-end architecture. And this helped us with estimates and efforts required in each platform and team in order to build the end-to-end solution. And soon enough, we had enough details to move on to the cloud architecture of the platform.
All right. So it is amazing to see how you're using this board to really drive speed to delivery for your customers. It will really have such an impact on their lives or on their customers' lives, rather, during the winter with the boiler, but also beyond. So how did Miro help when it came to actually building out and deploying the DEP on AWS infrastructure?
So we decided to try out Miro for our cloud architecture designs. And for DEP, we started to put together different options for the architecture. So there's an option 1 and an option 2 over here. And one is basically a SQL database, and the other is a NoSQL database, which is a common question that anybody engineering new platforms in AWS would be thinking of. And we went through the same problem. So we used the AWS shape pack to actually draw the diagrams in Miro. And in option number 1, you can see a customer logging in through one of our channels. In this case, it's a website. And they'll be going to a login page. And once they're logged in, they will be making API calls to the DEP platform through the AWS API gateway, which will then invoke a Lambda function, which will retrieve the necessary information to support the customer with the guided fix. And then the flow carries on to the decision tree implementation. So multiple API calls to serve customer or serve the website with content that can help the customer perform a guided fix. So yeah, the $1 million question over here was NoSQL versus SQL. So in order to make a decision, we use the pros and cons template and collaboratively pinpointed the various advantages and disadvantages of each approach. And we were able to consider and discuss factors like delivery, speed to delivery, maintenance, scalability, serverless and green architectures, and cost too. And this is something new that we tried, the cost calculator. So if you were to select a section of the architecture and then use the cost calculator, you can set how you use those AWS services, similar to how it looks on the pricing calculator, and then you get a cost. which means that at the same place where your diagrams are sitting, you got the cost sitting over there that provides additional context to the diagram. And this helps us to figure out which option do you want to go out for, another attribute to consider before we decide the option. Using all those attributes, we were then able to land on a particular option, and we landed in on the NoSQL option in this scenario. We created a more elaborate diagram over here, and then we polished the database design as well. And soon enough, we had more than enough to actually kick off the implementation. So that's the final design artifacts locked on another frame. And then we started putting together the delivery roadmap across each of our sprints to actually build an MVP product. And so you can see the first 5-6 sprints to get to the MVP, and then the next set of iterations and releases in order to build incrementally more features onto the DEP platform. So the integration of all these elements in Miro helped us to link our design decisions to our business impact, which makes our workflow very efficient and transparent.
Okay, so you are really leveraging quite a few features to bring these projects to life. It's very cool to see. So what do you think would have happened had you not had Miro as part of this, these massive projects?
So I think the main issue is that we'd be using multiple tools for diagramming, brainstorming, nothing in a single place, leading to version control issues. One developer will be working on a version of the diagram, a version of the design, and another person would be working on a similar design, but another aspect of the design. They'll be stored somewhere else. You'll have to check out, check in, and version control, etc. We would have lost valuable time trying to consolidate feedback and comments across all these different engineers and team members, trying to put together an end-to-end solution. And costs are a really crucial aspect of the platform too. And it's great that we can have that additional context, which is the cost integrated within the diagrams themselves. So Miro gives us that single pane of glass, single board, helps us to make well-informed decisions to help us move much faster with the delivery of a product. And it also provides a forum for seamless communication, so which makes it quite collaborative, especially in this post-COVID distributed environment. Overall, without Miro, we will be pacing much slower and introducing more risk into our end-to-end delivery.
All right, makes total sense. So then looking ahead, what's next? What's next for Centrica in terms of using Miro across future or other projects?
So we've been exploring a lot of the Miro features, including how can we use Miro for delivery. So here's an example integration that we just recently set up. It's with Azure DevOps and Jira. So we use Azure DevOps for the DEP platform build, and it's part of a Scrum team. And we can view a sprint view within Miro itself, again in the same board. So we're still experimenting on this, but you can see some really good results already. So you can see what we are delivering in the sprints and where we are, which helps us to make our daily stand-ups much easier, and making sure we are still aligned to our sprint goals, which we highlighted in our delivery plan, which you saw a few, in the previous frame. And you can also create Jira work items or Jira issues or ADO work items directly from the same board itself. And another feature that we are experimenting with is the AWS data import, which I'm really excited about, because what that gives us is a view of all the services that we have in the AWS account into Miro as well. So my team hosts multiple platforms within a single AWS account. And because we have multiple platforms, having that single account visualized into a Miro board is a lot of services. So we are really looking forward to a feature that's coming up within data import known as a link across account rule, which means that you can provide an AWS IAM rule and link it to that AWS IAM rule. And we could have a rule for a platform, and that will just give us all the services that are attached or belonging to that particular platform. So what this will give us is basically a view of the design of the architecture post-implementation. And what that gives us is basically a comparison of the old the design option versus the actual implementation. And then we can discuss specific sections of the architecture collaboratively and optimize and iterate and improve the architecture over time as well. So we see Miro becoming a more integral part of our daily workflow, helping us maintain the collaborative spirit as we scale and build more and more platforms faster. So ultimately, we will be having a living and breathing document as well that provides valuable context for anybody new joining the team too.
Wow. So really, it's clear that Miro has become such a critical part of how Centrica operates and deploys new platforms, but also collaborates internally. So that's just really cool to see. So for our audience, what would you say are the key takeaways from your experience? What would you love to leave them with?
I think my key takeaway is the consolidation of tools and centralizing your workflows will obviously significantly accelerate your delivery process. And in this example, we spoke about the DEP platform and how we are using Miro for DEP. But what it's actually giving us is a repeatable, scalable process for end-to-end delivery that we can use for all of our future programs. This speed is absolutely important for us, and it can benefit any organization looking to improve their workflows and deliver better results faster.
That is great advice. So thank you so much, Titu. It has been incredible to hear about Centrica's journey and really the impact that Miro has had on your work. And we're really excited to see what's coming next. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks so much for having me today.
And now I'd like to hand it over to Miro's product manager, Yogesh Sharma, who will lift the hood to give you a deeper dive into our latest AWS data import tool, now called AWS Cloud View. Welcome, Yogesh.
Thanks, Laura. And thanks, Titu, for sharing how the team at Centrica uses Miro. It's quite inspiring. Hi, my name is Yogesh, and I am a product manager at Miro. Today, I'm here to give you a glimpse of the tool we have built called AWS Cloud View. We heard from product teams that their cloud infrastructure is often fairly complex, and drawing diagrams manually to explain even parts of the infrastructure is a very tedious process. With that in mind, we built the Cloud View tool to visualize your entire AWS account in the form of a diagram. Now imagine I am a cloud practitioner, a site reliability engineer, trying to explain how an app flow works in the AWS. I could be doing that for documentation, or to iterate on the current design, or to onboard new team members. This simple task requires so many steps. First, I have to go to my AWS, find the resources that are deployed, draw a diagram of my current infrastructure, pick up the icons for those services that are needed to show the app flow, draw the diagram, and then collaborate with my team. Let's see how Cloud View can really simplify this process. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the toolbar and click on this plus icon. I can search for AWS here, and the AWS Cloud View beta app is listed. I can launch this app. What I see right now on the screen, because I've already added a couple of my AWS accounts, all those existing accounts are listed here. But if you are using the app for the first time, you are going to land onto the Add Account page. Here, you will see there are two options at the top. One is to link a cross-account role, and the other one is to upload a JSON file. Both of these follow different steps. So if you do not have the permissions to either create a new role in your AWS account, or you do not want to connect your AWS account with Miro, you can also upload the JSON file. These are the steps that are required to create a JSON output from your AWS command line. What you need to do is you have to run the data import script in your AWS CLI, and then it will create a JSON output. Once the output is generated, you can just simply browse that output. And this is just mock schema, but I would click on import and visualize, and it is going to generate the diagram for my entire AWS account. What you will notice is that the names of these services, resources, are actually exactly the same as they are in my AWS. So yeah, that's one way of creating the diagram for your entire infrastructure. The other one, let me just launch the app again, and we'll see how you can add an account. So how do you use a cross-account role? You can link a cross-account role from your AWS with your Miro account by simply following these steps. These steps guide you through the process of creating a new role in your AWS. And once you are done, you can share the role ARN here. Once you supply the role ARN, Miro and AWS can talk to each other and we can import the data to visualize. So to briefly show you how it works, I'm going to click on this link that takes you to the AWS IAM console. When I click this, it is going to take me to my AWS. Most of the data is pre-filled. I'm going to create an AWS account. This is the account ID. This is the external ID of the Miro app. I click on next. And you will see the permission policies, only one policy is required to use Cloud View. And it is selected here already. Let's see which one it is. And this is the read-only access. So we only need read-only access to be able to read data from your AWS account and draw a diagram of it. I'll go to next, and I'll give it a name. So maybe I'll name it demo test. And I'll click on create role. Now this role is created. I can search for this role. It's here, and I can simply copy the ARN. Once the ARN is copied, I will go back to my Miro. I'll supply the role ARN here, paste it here, and give it a name. Once I click on add and import, you will see that the account is now listed here at the top. Now, if I go and click on the next, it asks me to select the regions for which I want to visualize the infrastructure. I can search for the regions for which I want to visualize, say EU Central one and EU West one. Once I click on visualize, the data is being imported and the diagram is generated. Now, this is a fairly simple AWS account and the diagram, but you can have thousands of services that are deployed in your infrastructure, and Cloud View is going to generate a large diagram with thousands of icons as well. Now, this is the account that has been generated in form of a diagram. You see the EU Central one and the EU West one as well. Now you can use the exact same names and the exact same icons that you have in your AWS account to draw a new diagram to explain your app flow. So what I'll do is I'll simply just copy, say these three icons, Command C, and this is the place where I want to explain or draw the new diagram. I can simply just draw the diagram. And I can quickly show how the data actually flows. I could give, say, names, S3, upload, or data transfer. And now I'm done. All I now need to do is maybe collaborate with my team. I can put in a comment and say, hey, Hoi, can you review this? And that's it. Hoi is going to get a notification and he can come back and review this diagram. So yeah, it is as simple as that. And once you have added your account, the next time you're going to launch the app, the demo canvas 24, this account is already added. You don't have to add the account again. So this is remembered. You can simply just select it, go to the next steps, and visualize your infrastructure again. So that's it for me. And we are further enhancing the Cloud View tool. Very soon, we would have the capability to filter your large diagrams by resource types or tags so that you can narrow down the scope of your diagram to a much manageable scope. So yeah, watch out for the updates. Thank you. Over to you, Laura.
Thanks, Yogesh. So today we've seen firsthand how Centrica is using Miro to speed up delivery of business critical platforms. Titu showed us how having everything in a unified space helps his team collaborate better and move faster. Yogesh then took us through Miro's new AWS Cloud View tool, which makes it super easy to visualize complex cloud infrastructure. So whether you're uploading a JSON file or linking your AWS Cloud account directly, you can generate diagrams in seconds and work seamlessly with your team. So thanks everyone for joining us today. We hope you're inspired to try out these tools for yourself.